Hey guys, I'm Josh Pladies, and today we're going to go over the very basics of tuning a goose call. Now in the future, we're going to have some of those videos that breaks down each individual part of the call, and we'll really dive in depth as to what each part contributes to the call, what we can do to manipulate it to get the sound we want, and just really dive deep into each individual aspect of tuning a goose call. But today, all we're going to do is we're going to take the gut assembly out and we're going to put it back in and kind of get close to what we want, and we're going to really fine tune it in the weeks to come. So keep an eye out for those videos. So let's begin. So first off, a goose call has got 5 main parts. It's got the barrel, it's got the insert, and the insert houses the gut assembly. And never grab your gut assembly by the hands and just start twisting to try to get the guts out. Don't do that. You're gonna Boone, quiet. Sorry about that. But never just grab and reef those guts out, because you're gonna damage your guts. So what I do is I take a little screwdriver, or you can get like a little scratch off from the hardware store or something like that, and really all you're doing, FYI, ballpoint pen does not work well. You're gonna make your call really like inky, and that's not good. Trust me, I know. But okay, so basically, we're taking our screwdriver or scratch awl, we're putting it into the insert, and we're gonna be pushing against the wedge, not the bottom part. We're putting against this flat side of this wedge on this back side. I don't know if you can see through the transparent call. You can see where this wedge stops right about in here, and that's where our screwdriver is. It's above the reed, and we're just going to apply pressure, and we're going to pop that wedge out. So we're going to take it. You got to get a good firm grasp of that wedge, or of that insert in your hand, and you're just going to push. It takes quite a bit of effort, and you want it to take quite a bit of effort, because otherwise that means that wedge wasn't tight enough. So we're going to grab the guts out of the call at this point. So that's the insert. No guts. It's just a hollow tube with, it's got a compression chamber in there and everything like that, because it's a molt gear call. But so the gut assembly, we've got the gut assembly is made up of 3 parts. First, taking it off, the wedge. The wedge applies pressure to the reed. Without the wedge and without proper pressure on the wedge, your call's not going to sound right. And we'll go over that when we're reassembling the call. Next up, we've got the reed. The reed is a part that vibrates in the call. When this reed dips down into our next part, which is the tone channel, so it dips down into that lip, down into this trough, that's what makes the crack over in a goose call. That's what makes it goes, oh. That provides the crack in the call, when that reed dips down into that tone trough. And that's going to be very important. And then obviously the last part was the tone trough. This is the Phantom gut assembly by Molt Gear. Best hunting guts there is on the market. They're easy to blow, they're goosey, they're easy to do all of those trick notes on and everything like that. Just a little plug for Molt Gear there. But okay, so reassembling your call. Let's start with the reed. The reed, if you're just retuning it, it's going to have that shaven side on it, and that shaved side goes up. And just so happens the shaved side is also the part that bows away, or is also the part that becomes concave. So this is the shaved side, this is the non-shaved side. The non-shaved side goes down, and this is the way, for future videos reference too, this is the way you want your reed to bend always. It's going to give you the best sound in the call. So knowing that and knowing which way it goes up, we're going to look at the reed. And if you really look at a reed, a Molt Gear one has a fat side and it's got a skinny side. The fat side is the part that goes up to the tone trough. It's the part that fits in here. That gut assembly is perfectly made so that that fat part sits right up in there. You're able to align it with the warning grooves, and it'll fit down in that tone trough perfectly. And that's very important for efficiency. That's what makes this gut system so good, is that it's just so efficient, and doesn't waste any air. You don't have much of an airy sound at all. And we'll go into that more in when we dive into the tone trough. So we'll really get into what some call makers are doing that make them an inferior goose call, because they don't really worry about this stuff. This is the stuff that really high quality call makers pay attention to in order to get the best product in your hand. And we'll break that down more in the future, really kind of give away some of those secrets. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the fat part with the shave side up, put it down, reverse that. We're going to be putting the shave side up on the tone trough. So this is the shave side. This is the side that bows up. The two high parts go up on the call. So we're going to make sure that fat end, and we're going to make sure that reed just barely fits down into that tone channel. And you don't want it to be clicking. You just want it to barely fit down in there. But we're going to fine tune that once we get it just barely into the insert. So we're going to take that part. We're going to take the wedge. The wedge has a skinny end and it's got a fat end. The skinny end gets inserted into the insert first. And the wedge, and the thicker part of the wedge, is what it builds up to and applies pressure to the reed. So we're going to put it on top like that. So again, skinny end's back here, fat end's up here. And again, we're just kind of going to make sure that that reed just barely fits down in there. It's perfectly aligned. We don't want any gap there at all, but we don't want it hitting. It's such a fine line. And that's the biggest mistake guys do, is they don't realize how fine of a line that is there. So we're going to look at it. It's right about where we want it. And we'll go over how much reed's exposed in the future. For short, the more reed exposed, the deeper the call. The less reed exposed, the higher pitch the call. We're going to shoot for right about in the middle. And again, we're going to go over really in depth on that in later videos. We're going to make sure that reed's just barely fitting down in there. We've got just the perfect amount of reed exposed. We're going to take our insert. We're just going to lightly put it in there for right now. Don't blow it like this. You're going to mess it up. So just lightly have it in there. We're going to check to make sure that reed just barely fits down in there. And this one moved on me a little bit. And they tend to do that. They like to move on you. So you really got to learn how to not make that reed move. So that's about where I want it. We're going to put my thumb on the reed, keep it from moving. My thumb is touching the wedge, if you can see that. And all we're going to do is we're going to take the insert and push it into the wedge. And we're going to push it really tight. This has got to be really tight in there, just so we've got enough pressure on that wedge, on that reed, so it sounds right. So we're going to take it. Again, I was talking. I'm going to double check. We're looking good. Push it down in there. You can see how much force I really took. And again, we're going to check it. And it might have moved on me a little bit. It still looks like it should be all right. It might be a little high pitched. I might need to adjust how much reed's exposed. But again, we're looking about right. I like to give the reed a little bit of a bend up just to give it some of that memory. I like to blow call heavy. But again, we'll dive into that later. Let's run it and see how it sounds. Now, for me, that's a little high pitched. It sounds good. It'll kill geese that way. But I'm going to adjust it a little bit, and I'll come back and let you guys hear it. All right. So I popped the gut assembly out again. I moved the reed out just a little bit so that there's a little bit more of this whole assembly exposed. And we got it back in there. Let's see how it sounds. All right, that's pretty close. We've still got a little bit of fine tuning to do, and we'll dive into that more in a couple videos to come. So stay tuned. Let me know what you think. If you've got any problems, feel free to ask. I'm willing to help. Just send me a message on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever. Just let me know. Thanks, guys.
Abraz on fleek.